My goodness, I literally had to leap out of my train. So I don't know why I thought that the terminus was my station called it Central, whereas actually the terminus is Swansea. So I was like busy stuck into work. Like I just feel like it's just been like so hectic and everything on 100 for like the last couple weeks. But yeah, so basically I'm doing work. I'm literally like stuck into the work, etc. They announced Cardiff Central, and then I thought that people were gonna start getting off. So I'm like wondering why are people taking ages? Like I know why I'm taking ages because obviously I had all of this stuff. I've been rushed. So I'm trying to take my time. But then I'm wondering why the rest of the passengers are not leaping out like people usually do when they get to their stations. And so I realized, wait, they said Cardiff Central. And then I remembered that in London, the train had said Swansea. So then I literally grabbed all my stuff, shoved it into the bag, and I was like sprinting out. I would have missed my stop. Anyways, I've made it. I can finally catch my breath a little bit. I don't have to go set up our stand until 4 p.m. So that gives me a bit of time to do some work and actually to catch my breath, do a couple more bits that I need to do. And then, yeah, I don't really know how I feel about the hotel. It's so funny because as I was walking to my room, first of all, housekeeping was very grumpy, but that's fine. Maybe they just haven't had very nice people, or maybe they're tired and fed up. I hear it. But then every single door that I walked past had like bottles of like Prosecco outside the door. So I'm like, people must have really been doing enjoyment. But yeah, anyway, speak to you all later.
I compare myself to you and you so often that I'm feeling so unusual. I just want the God in me to shine without feeling like it's so sublime. I just want the God in me to shine without feeling like it's so sublime. Without feeling like the glow is mine. Glow is mine.
Hello, hi everyone. So this will actually probably be more of a talking vlog than anything, but I made my way back from Wales and I had to rush from the train station to the house, get my suitcase and make my way to London Heathrow Airport so that I could travel to Cameroon. So with my corporate travels, they usually planned a couple weeks to a few weeks ahead of time, whereas obviously you don't plan a bereavement. My grandfather had passed away, and so I needed to make my way to Cameroon. So I still had to uphold obviously my work responsibilities, and then I changed my train time back so that I could catch that flight and arrive in Yaoundé just in time for the funeral preparations and then for the funeral service. So landed, and straight from the airport we went to get everything sorted. So from getting the fascinators so that my aunties and I could match, to getting the eulogy written, to making sure that the house was ready for the wake, and then finally went to the Hilton Yaoundé to check in, get a shower in, get a bit of a rest, and then it was back to the wake. The next morning, bright and early, was the funeral ceremony held in the city center at the Basilica Mvolier. It was a really beautiful ceremony with different representatives making speeches. So my mom made a speech on behalf of all my grandparents' kids. I made a speech on behalf of the grandchildren. And then my great uncle, I think that's how you say it in English, made a speech on behalf of my grandma's family. And then we made our way to the village. So my village is called Mbongobulu. It's in the south. I've previously made a vlog about it for my grandma's funeral, but the plan was to go bury my granddad next to my grandma in the home that they had built. They had intended for that home to be their retirement home for their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren to go visit them. And so it was only right to, bury my granddad next to my grandma in his home. The village is probably about 3 hours by car, potentially a little bit more depending on traffic. The roads are usually quite clear. I think the main thing is the speed at which people go, so that's something to be careful with. But yeah, we arrived. Huh? Of what? We have to. If you're someone who is an OG or has been on the channel for a while, then this probably feels a little bit familiar because we had to do the same thing for my grandmother in 2021. And if you're someone who's tuning in as of recently or who is new, then hey, nice to have you here despite the circumstances. But long story short, the ladies in the village were chanting, mourning the person, and also welcoming the person back into the village. So after mass was then time for people to be fed before the wake was going to start. And there was so much food. People truly feasted in the Lord. Like there were appetizers, main courses with different options, desserts, tea, hot chocolate, coffee was served throughout the night to keep people awake. In the next morning, there were pastries, croissants, pain au chocolat, etc. But it was really heartwarming for friends, family members, acquaintances, co-workers, etc. to really come all the way from the city center, from neighboring towns, villages, to support the family, be present for the wake and the burial ceremony, as well as for the inhabitants of the village. And so they had to be fed. And just to say thank you. And I think that's an aspect of my culture, that's an aspect of my country, of my tribe, that I really wanted to showcase, and that I'm really grateful for how united, loving we are, and that community aspect. But yes, as I said, the next morning was the burial ceremony. There were a lot of esteemed guests, the king of the village, etc. And then this part, I don't want to do it injustice, but long story short, some of the family members were sat in the middle and were asking for some of the provisions as well. And asking for food, and they were basically saying, well, now that the head of the family had died, who will take care of them, etc. So once they were happy and satisfied, then they walked away. So it's not really like a drama. I don't want to do it injustice. It's something that I hadn't seen before. but it also was lighthearted but part of tradition. And then after that, they were happy, so they walked away. Then we had the burial. That was very, very tough to just kind of see, when you put the body in the ground, etc. But again, as I said, it was a beautiful send off. And then it was the Thanksgiving, the celebration of life, and everyone feasting. The next morning, bright and early, was meant to start at 6 a.m. It started a little bit later, but we were waiting. Was meant to be the massive family reunion, where they decide who the next head of the family would be, as my grandfather was the head of the family. It can go on for hours, depending on if people agree on who the head of the family will be, the reasons for that, etc. So it's the family, it's also obviously like the, residents in the village, etc. And then at the end they decided who that would be. I also this time around got to see a lot of like the different traditional practices or aspects that happen in the village or generally in the country. But I'm not as well versed, and I think it's something that's quite a taboo subject, so I will leave that for now. But as I said, it was a beautiful send off. We said a final goodbye to my grandpa and to my grandma, and then we made our way back to Yaoundé, the city center, to spend our last couple days. My mom and her siblings were going to organize all of my grandfather's affairs, and then we were also going to try and rest and recuperate because it was a lot of early mornings. But yeah, so we arrived at the Hilton, and I will let us get back into the vlog.
Don't be in a rush to try to find a man. Just keep getting closer with God and trusting in his plans. Don't fall for the hype on the gram, they follow trends. Make it.
My cousins, my brother, and myself decided to gift our parents each a spa day, a massage. We felt that they needed it because in the lead up to the funeral, in the planning of the ceremony, it was a lot. It was very overwhelming. Also, they were grieving. And they work full time. They're also full time amazing parents, so we felt like that was the least that we could do for them to reset and to recoup. As I mentioned earlier as well, I was representing the grandchildren, as was Jaden. I think that's one of the blessings with my job. Because I travel a lot, I have a lot of overtime hours accumulated. We don't get paid for overtime, but you can claim that back in time. So usually I have a few more annual leave days, and my workplace is also very flexible, very accommodating, so that's why I was able to physically be there. So yeah,
He don't pray at all, you know that ain't gonna work. Yahweh died for you, sweetheart, it's better that you deserve. It's not even worth that hurt. 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 Not even worth that hurt. P31, that's what you are. I see you shining, girl, you like a star. You be on your grind, you working hard. You and your.
good evening everyone. So it is Tuesday the 1st of July, and I haven't really been able to update you because it's been very much so full on. I will start off by saying that um, we laid my granddad officially to rest next to my grandma in the village, and that was amazing. It was the most beautiful send off. I think that my mom and her siblings did an incredible, extraordinary job, honestly. Given the circumstances, given how tough everything was, given the fact that they don't actually all live here in Cameroon, it was just beautiful from beginning to end. Um, in terms of hospitality, in terms of honoring and commemorating the life of the great man that my grandfather was. It was just great, honestly. And then we came back from the village on Sunday evening, And then Monday, which was yesterday, there were a couple bits to do, specifically for them to have a family meeting to kind of organize what was going to happen to my grandparents' property now and other things moving forward. Um, and then what did I do yesterday? I think I did a couple bits. Today I got my hair braided. I will put the link below because she was really great. Her customer service was great. She was on time. She was extremely professional. She came with her little sister, I believe. But yeah, that was good. And then now I'm getting ready to go with Jaden to the rooftop, and some of our cousins are coming, just so we can hang out, etc. We've been staying at the Hilton. Um, it's been an experience. I think that's what I'll say. It's been an experience. I'm a Hilton Honors member myself, but I have never stayed at the Hilton in Cameroon where I've paid for it, if that makes sense. My uncle stays here all the time, and so they know him, they really revere and respect him. Um, but I just feel like for the Hilton Hotel, the customer service, some of the standards, some of the rooms as well, um, just don't really reflect, I guess, what I feel like the Hilton should usually be like. And I don't know if it's because of the location, being in the country, etc. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to go into it, but I will say it's just been an experience. So my mom, Jaden, and myself are staying in a. It's like I think it's like an executive room or suite. So you have your double bed, which I think is a king bed. Then they brought a mattress for Jaden. You have a sofa, etc. Sorry, the room is not very tight. Yes, should have probably recorded it, but the day when we came back from the village was a whole headache in itself. So yeah. But anyways, I am mumbling. I will speak to y'all later. But yeah, I will say it's just been a very, very intense last few days, but I'm just really grateful for the blessing of my granddad and my grandma, as well as every single family member of mine. I'm blessed and honored to be born in this family. I'm blessed and honored to have received all the love that I have received from my grandparents and that I keep receiving from my mom. Um, and yeah, there's just, yeah, a lot. But I feel like I'm finally starting to cool down. Anyways, I will speak to y'all later. Bye.
As much as the experience at the Hilton this time around was interesting, I will say that the staff in the restaurant was the best. They were so attentive, they were so professional, they were so kind, and they really made our time there. But yeah, it was time to head back to the UK. I had a really long layover in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, and so I decided to check into one of the lounges. It was $100 for entry, but at least it gave you food, it gave you access to clean loos, it gave you access to Wi-Fi, and it just made sense. I'm pretty sure my layover was over 8 hours, and so at least I had a little bit of comfort and things to do in that time. And then before you know it, it was time to head back to the UK, back to work, back to normal routine and reality.
Afternoon, everyone. So it's another day and it's another destination. So today we are off to Paris and we're off for another wedding once again. I think I'm just gonna make it into one vlog. So my trip to Portugal and then yeah, my trip to Paris. I guess it makes sense because it's two weddings and so much time has gone by. Please, I'm so sorry. I've just been so busy. And I know I come on every vlog and I say this, but I genuinely have. But yeah, enjoy the vlog and we shall speak later. Bye.
As we're headed to Paris and we're going to do small tourism, I'm going to have a very vulnerable conversation with y'all. As much as I always come here and I say, hey everyone, so sorry, I was so busy, I didn't post in a while. I think that's very true. I'm a busy person, but I'm also someone who's very diligent and very disciplined. So I will prioritize, I will accommodate, etc. I think sometimes I have a battle with where I am at with YouTube because as much as the subscriber count goes up, and I'm so grateful to every single person that joins the family. Sometimes when you make videos and you don't see comments and you don't see, that engagement, it's very easy in your head to think that you're the only one who is watching those videos. And so if I'm the only one watching the videos, then why not just make videos and then just watch them in my own time as opposed to go through editing, etc. And then I'll speak to the one or two odd person in person, and then they will be like, oh, I watched your video and I really like this. And then I'm like, oh, so it's not just me. So I would really be grateful if we could keep each other going. And sometimes just seeing that writing, that comment in black and white, and that community being built would be amazing, especially, you know, because I'm someone who just loves that aspect of just coming together and let's give our thoughts and stuff. But anyways, back to the wedding. So we checked into the chateau. There were rooms allocated for family members, etc. Dimitri, who's my cousin, had checked into an Airbnb separately. His wife to be had checked into another Airbnb separately. The day of the wedding, I went to help her to do her hair. Tiffany did her makeup. And then, boom, fast forward to a few hours later. This is now her walking down the aisle with her bridesmaids. The whole wedding was honestly really wholesome.
So we're currently making our way back to Paris, and then we have to go to Charles de Gaulle to drop off some of the others, and then after that go to Orly to drop off Zandil and myself for going back to London. The rest of my family is going back to the US. But yeah, it's just been a really good one. We barely slept. Like, the wedding ended probably around we left around 2:30 a.m. Then we came back upstairs, chit-chatted, etc. Then showered, finished packing, and then slept around 4. And now it's 7. So yeah, but it's been really good. Anyways, all right, speak to you in a bit. Bye.